If you're watching this, I think you're exactly where I used to be. And if that's true, I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes. Because I have a feeling this isn't just another video you'll forget tomorrow. I think this is something you needed to hear right now. I know you've been feeling lonely. Not the kind of lonely where no one is around. The kind of lonely where you're surrounded by people, but somehow you still feel completely unseen. You answer the texts, you show up to dinner, you laugh at the jokes, you smile for the pictures, you tell everyone you're doing fine. But when you get home, when the door closes, when it's finally quiet, you feel it, that emptiness, that strange feeling that something has changed, and you can't quite explain what it is. Maybe you've noticed that conversations don't excite you anymore. The gossip, the drama, the same routines, the same complaints, the same people talking about the same things. While something inside of you is quietly whispering, there has to be more than this. And that's the part nobody prepares you for. Because everyone talks about becoming a better version of yourself. Everyone celebrates the glow up, the confidence, the success, the beautiful life. But no one talks about what happens before any of that. No one talks about the silence. No one talks about the friendships that slowly fade. No one talks about feeling like you don't belong anywhere anymore. Not with the people you've outgrown, but not yet with the people you're meant to meet. It's a strange place to be. It's like standing between two versions of your life. One is asking you to go back because it's familiar. The other is asking you to keep walking, even though you have no idea where you're going. And somewhere in the middle, you start wondering if something is wrong with you. Why don't I fit in anymore? Why do I feel so disconnected? Why does everyone else seem so happy, while I feel like I'm losing everyone? But what if nothing is wrong with you? What if the loneliness you're feeling isn't a sign that you're falling apart? What if it's proof that you're finally growing? Because sometimes the loneliest season of your life becomes the season that changes you forever. And before you convince yourself that you've lost your place in the world, I need you to understand something. You are not lonely. You're becoming. The hardest part about growth is that it rarely feels exciting in the beginning. It feels like loss. You don't wake up one morning feeling transformed. You wake up wondering why your phone has been so quiet, why the people you used to talk to every day feel like strangers now, why you don't enjoy the places that once felt like home, and why you're suddenly questioning everything. You start wondering if you should reach out first, if you should apologize, even when you don't know what you did wrong, if you should go back to the version of yourself that everyone seemed to like more, because at least she wasn't lonely. But was she happy, or was she just accepted? There's a difference. Sometimes we confuse belonging with fitting in. Fitting in asks you to become smaller. Belonging asks you to become more of yourself. And if you've spent years changing who you are just to make other people comfortable, the moment you stop, everything changes. You stop laughing at jokes that aren't funny. You stop saying yes when your heart is screaming no. You stop chasing people who only remember you when it's convenient. You stop pretending you're okay, just so nobody feels uncomfortable. And suddenly, the room gets quieter. Not because you became less lovable, but because you stopped performing. The people who only loved the version of you that abandoned herself may not know what to do with the woman who's finally choosing herself. And that hurts, because these weren't just random people. These were your people. Or at least, you thought they were. You shared memories, inside jokes, late-night conversations, plans about the future. You imagined they'd always be there. Until one day, you looked around and realized you were the only one still holding on. That's the part no one warns you about. Sometimes, growth doesn't just change you. It changes your relationships. Not because someone is a bad person, not because someone betrayed you, but because you're no longer walking in the same direction. One person is comfortable, the other is evolving. One person wants familiarity, the other wants freedom. Neither is wrong, but they may no longer be meant for each other. And that's one of the most painful truths you'll ever have to accept. Not everyone is supposed to come with you. Some people are chapters, not the whole story. And maybe the reason your circle feels smaller is because your life is making room for the people who will recognize the woman you're becoming, not the girl you used to be. Nobody talks about the grief of outgrowing yourself, because that's really what this is. You're not just missing people, you're missing the version of you that existed when they were still in your life. The girl who laughed a little louder, the girl who answered every text immediately, the girl who never questioned whether she belonged, the girl who stayed even when she should have left. And sometimes you miss her. Not because she was happier, but because everything felt simpler. She didn't overthink every conversation. She didn't spend nights wondering if she was asking for too much. She didn't feel guilty for protecting her peace. She just accepted whatever life gave her. But you've changed. You've started asking bigger questions. Questions like, what kind of life do I actually want? What kind of woman do I want to become? What am I willing to tolerate? And once you ask those questions, you can never go back to who you were before. That's the difficult thing about awareness. It changes everything. Once you see your worth, you notice every place you've been settling. Once you experience peace, chaos becomes exhausting. Once you realize how valuable your energy is, you stop giving it away so easily. And suddenly, the life that once felt normal starts feeling heavy. The conversations feel empty. The habits feel meaningless. The relationships feel one-sided. Not because they changed overnight, but because you did. Growth has a quiet way of making old environments feel too small. It's like trying to squeeze into clothes you've already outgrown. At first, you think maybe they'll stretch. Maybe if you try harder. Maybe if you shrink yourself just a little, everything will fit again. But it won't, because you were never meant to become smaller, just to stay comfortable. And I know that's scary, because staying the same guarantees acceptance. Changing guarantees uncertainty. You don't know who's going to stay. You don't know who's going to leave. You don't know what your future looks like. All you know is that pretending to be the old version of yourself feels impossible now. And maybe that's exactly where you're supposed to be. Because every woman you've ever admired had a season where she felt completely out of place. A season where she questioned everything. A season where she felt misunderstood. Not because she was failing, but because she was becoming someone her old life could no longer contain. Maybe that's you. Maybe you're not lost. Maybe you've simply outgrown the map that used to guide your life. And if that's true, then of course it feels lonely. You're walking into territory you've never been before. But here's what nobody tells you. Loneliness has a purpose. Not every season of isolation is punishment. Sometimes it's protection. Think about it. If your life had stayed exactly the same, would you have ever discovered who you really are? If everyone had stayed, would you have ever learned how to stand on your own? If nothing had fallen apart, would you have ever built something stronger? Probably not, because comfort has a way of keeping us asleep. We stay in relationships that no longer fulfill us. We stay in friendships we've outgrown. We stay in routines that make us feel empty. Not because they're good for us, but because they're familiar. And familiarity can be addictive, even when it's making us miserable. That's why this season feels so uncomfortable. For the first time, you don't have constant noise around you. No distractions. No one telling you who you should be. No one pulling you in 10 different directions. It's just you. And I know that's terrifying, because when the world finally gets quiet, you can hear your own thoughts. You start noticing the dreams you've been ignoring, the boundaries you've been afraid to set, the life you've secretly wanted, but convinced yourself was unrealistic. You realize maybe you've been living for everyone else's expectations. Maybe you've spent years trying to become someone people would choose, instead of becoming someone you could be proud of. And that's a painful realization, because it means admitting that somewhere along the way, you abandoned yourself. Not all at once, little by little. You said yes when you wanted to say no. You stayed quiet when you wanted to speak. You accepted less than you deserved because you were afraid that asking for more would leave you with nothing. But here's the truth. The woman you're becoming would rather be alone than surrounded by people who make her feel lonely. Read that again. The woman you're becoming would rather protect her peace than perform for acceptance. Because she knows loneliness passes, but abandoning yourself can last for years. And maybe this season isn't teaching you how to be alone. Maybe it's teaching you how to finally enjoy your own company. Because one day, the life you've been praying for will require a woman who knows exactly who she is. And maybe that's who this lonely season is creating. I want you to imagine something. Close your eyes, just for a second. Imagine meeting the woman you're going to become 5 years from now. The version of you that finally found peace. The version of you that built the life she once cried herself to sleep dreaming about. The version of you that wakes up excited for her mornings. She has the career, the confidence, the friendships that feel effortless, the love that feels safe, the apartment she always imagined, the quiet mind she used to pray for. Now imagine asking her one question. What was the hardest part? Do you know what I think she'd say? It wasn't the heartbreak. It wasn't the rejection. It wasn't starting over. It was believing that the lonely season would never end. Because when you're living inside it, it feels permanent. You start telling yourself stories. I'm always going to feel this way. I'm always going to be alone. Maybe this is just who I am. But feelings are terrible fortune tellers. Just because you feel lonely today doesn't mean you're destined to be lonely forever. Think about how many versions of yourself you've already survived. The girl who thought she'd never get over her first heartbreak. The girl who thought one mistake defined her. The girl who stayed awake wondering if she'd ever be enough. You survived her. And one day, you'll survive this version too. In fact, one day you'll miss her. Not because she was happy, but because she was brave enough to keep walking without seeing the whole path. That's real courage. Courage isn't having all the answers. Courage is taking another step while your heart is still full of questions. And that's exactly what you're doing. Every day you wake up. Every day you choose not to go back. Every day you keep believing there's something better waiting for you, even when you can't see it yet. You're becoming the kind of woman who doesn't need constant validation, who doesn't need everyone to understand her, who doesn't need permission to become everything she was created to be. That woman is being built right now, in the silence, in the waiting, in the mornings that feel ordinary, in the nights that feel endless. Not after this season, because of this season. One day, you're going to wake up. And without even realizing it, you'll stop reaching for your phone the moment your eyes open. You'll stop wondering who texted you, who viewed your story, who unfollowed you, who chose you. Because you'll finally understand something. The woman you're becoming doesn't spend her life waiting to be chosen. She chooses herself every single day. Not because she's perfect, not because she has everything figured out, but because she finally realized Her worth was never supposed to be decided by someone else's attention. And that's what this season has been trying to teach you all along. Not how to survive loneliness, but how to become whole. There's a difference. Because if you don't learn how to become whole on your own, you'll spend the rest of your life asking other people to complete you. You'll expect relationships to heal wounds they didn't create. You'll expect friendships to fill emptiness that only you can face. You'll keep searching for someone to give you permission to finally feel enough. But peace doesn't begin when someone finally chooses you. Peace begins when you stop abandoning yourself, when you stop negotiating your standards, when you stop apologizing for taking up space, when you stop shrinking to fit into rooms you were never meant to stay in. That's when everything changes. Not because your life suddenly becomes perfect, but because your relationship with yourself does. You stop seeing yourself as someone who's missing something, and you start seeing yourself as someone who's becoming someone. That's a completely different life, because women who know who they are walk differently. They speak differently. They love differently. They leave differently. They don't chase what is running from them. They don't beg for seats at tables where they were never invited. They build their own table. They create their own life. And eventually, the right people don't just find them, they recognize them. Because confidence has a way of attracting what insecurity used to chase. Maybe that's what this lonely season has been preparing you for. Not isolation, alignment. Not emptiness, clarity. Not rejection, redirection. Maybe every closed door, every unanswered message, every friendship that quietly drifted away wasn't taking something from you. Maybe it was making room for peace, making room for purpose, making room for the woman you've been praying to become. Can I tell you something? I don't think you're behind. I don't think you've missed your chance, and I definitely don't think you're too late. I think you're exactly where you're supposed to be. I know that sounds impossible to believe, especially when everyone around you seems to be moving faster. When people your age are getting married, buying homes, starting families, building careers, traveling the world, posting pictures that make it look like they have everything figured out, and you're just trying to figure out who you are. But what if you're not on their timeline? What if the life you're trying to build requires a different version of you? A slower version, a wiser version, a stronger version. Maybe that's why your journey feels different. Because you're not just building a life, you're building yourself. And people who build themselves first often build the strongest lives later. I know it's tempting to compare, to wonder why she has more friends, why she found love first, why her career took off, why everything seems to come so easily for everyone else. But comparison is a thief. It steals your peace, it steals your confidence, it steals your gratitude, and worst of all, it convinces you that someone else's timing should become your standard. But tell me something. Would you really trade your entire future just to arrive 6 months earlier? Would you trade the wisdom you're gaining for a life that only looks perfect from the outside? I wouldn't. Because one day, the woman you're becoming will walk into rooms with a peace that can't be bought, with confidence that wasn't given to her, it was earned. She won't need to prove herself. She won't need to compete. She won't need to convince people to stay. Because she'll know the right people never needed convincing. The right opportunities never required you to become someone you're not. And the right life will never ask you to abandon yourself to deserve it. That's why this season matters so much. It's teaching you something success never could. How to trust yourself, how to sit with yourself, how to choose yourself. And those lessons will stay with you long after this lonely season is over. One day, you'll realize this wasn't the season that broke you. It was the season that introduced you to yourself. So, if you're sitting here today feeling like you've lost people, feeling like you've outgrown your old life, feeling like no one really understands where you are anymore. I want you to remember this. You are not being left behind. You are being led somewhere different. Different isn't always comfortable. Different isn't always understood. But different is often where your life begins. One day, you'll wake up in a home that once lived only in your imagination. You'll have friends who celebrate your growth instead of feeling threatened by it. You'll build a life that no longer requires you to pretend you're someone you're not. You'll laugh again, without forcing it. You'll smile in photos and actually mean it. You'll sit in silence, and instead of feeling lonely, you'll feel grateful because you'll finally understand that peace was never empty. It was making room for the woman you hadn't met yet. And when that day comes, I hope you look back at this version of yourself. The girl who almost gave up. The girl who questioned everything. The girl who cried herself to sleep, wondering if she'd ever feel like herself again. And I hope you thank her because she kept going. She kept choosing hope. She kept taking one more step, even when she couldn't see where the road was leading. She didn't need all the answers. She only needed the courage to take the next step. That's all you need to. Not a 5-year plan. Not certainty. Not everyone's approval. Just the next step. Maybe today, the next step is getting out of bed. Maybe it's finally deleting the message you keep rereading. Maybe it's applying for the opportunity you've been talking yourself out of. Maybe it's going for that walk, calling your mom, opening your journal, praying again, dreaming again, trusting yourself again. Whatever your next step is, take it. Because every version of the woman you're becoming was built one small decision at a time. Not one giant leap. One ordinary day after another. Until suddenly, she wasn't the same woman anymore. She had become someone her younger self would have looked up to. And maybe that's what's happening to you right now. Not in some distant future. Not when everything finally works out. Right now. In the middle of the uncertainty. In the middle of the waiting. In the middle of the loneliness. You're becoming her. So the next time you feel like you're walking alone, remember this. Some roads have to be walked alone because they're taking you somewhere no one else can go for you. And that's not something to fear. It's something to be grateful for. Because one day, you'll realize you were never alone. You were simply becoming. Until next time, keep becoming.